If you can speak well and you're articulate and you have compelling things that you're saying and there's no counter, there's no scientist going, stop.
Yeah.
We can show you.
According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically? Refer to the Sinai Bible. Would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus? Like the codex that comes... Okay, that's why I was trying to get some clarification. My confusion is that it doesn't read any differently.
Where was that piece
I found
discovered?
the text where I was referencing, actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas. Never got crucified. As a matter of fact, the Sinai Bible, Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. But then you go to the Sinai Bible, in the Sinai Bible, and the Sinai Bible. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
So our friend Billy had a problem. He went on a debate with Wes Huff and he did not know what he was getting himself into. He thought this was going to be his run-of-the-mill Christian, that he was going to just say cyanide Bible, contradictions. Bible doesn't really exist like that. Jesus was never crucified, but he met Wes Huff, and when he did, he was very shocked and surprised. And when the video of their debate was supposed to come out, he was threatening his friend, threatening Wes Huff and everybody else. It was so embarrassing because now he failed, right? Before he had this beautiful record of he just talking, spewing his nonsense and his facts that he believes, and no one was there to ever push against him. He would go on Joe Rogan's podcast and the Flagrant podcast and all these different platforms and spew his nonsense, and even the PBD podcast where Patrick asked him if he debated anybody or if he was willing to debate anybody, and he was like, yeah, I do that all the time, blah blah blah. But no, when it actually happened, he was embarrassed at very simple things. Like right now, I'm going to show you.
According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically? Refer to the Sinai Bible. Would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus? Like the codex that comes... Okay, that's why I was trying to get some clarification, because I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because Sinaiticus in particular is just a 4th century Greek manuscript. Its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. When you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there, I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified, and that's in Codex Sinaiticus.
And then he has to go to a mental psychiatrist or this doctor that has to tell him, you're actually good, you were right, everybody's wrong, you're better than everybody else, Billy. Don't let them get you down, Billy. You are the best. And Billy's there just crying and making excuses about how he made a bad response video and he felt, he let everybody down and etc., and never actually saying the things that he's been spewing for all these years are wrong. And Wes Huff called him out on him and caught him on it and held his feet to the fire. Instead, he's just like, I had a weak debate performance. They manipulated me. They knew I was sick. They knew this. You agreed to it. You went on. You did it. Man up and take charge of your life. And not just when it's going good, even when it's going bad. Just like God let the Egyptians and Pharaoh run into the Red Sea and then it collapsed inside of them, this is Billy running into the Red Sea metaphorically and getting collapsed by the internet. On the live stream, he was just insulting Christians, all Christians, and saying, is this your God of the Bible? And he's a sadistic, murdering king.
What is a sadistic narcissist? Let's take a look at some of the traits and see if we can compare them to this quote-unquote God of the Bible.
Right? The guy asked him, hey, Billy, was it pre-recorded? Did you show anybody before you posted it? He's like, dang! It was a live stream. Don't make rash decisions when you're angry. But he said he was so angry and he had so much built up, pent up frustration and anger, and he couldn't go somewhere and go to somebody and shake them and scream at them.
Yeah, I felt like, you ever get so angry that there's nothing you can do to get the anger out? There's nobody you can grab. There's nobody you can yell at. You can't get, because they're so far, they're spread out. You can't get in anybody's face. And so the only form of attack I had was my own mouth.
He had to hold all these feelings inside, and then he could only use his mouth. And this is what has helped him his entire career. But at this point, it was the final nail in the coffin that really destroyed his career. Because after this, all all of Billy's fanboys and everything else started crumbling around him, losing supporters, and people figuring out the truth of being like, dang, I've been following Billy for all these years. I thought he knew everything he was talking about. He's never been challenged like this before. And when he is challenged like that, he breaks down emotionally, mentally, even physically he breaks down. And it just shows how weak his arguments really were. Billy's ego is humongous, right? Here's
researcher is that I have no problem with being wrong. My favorite moments in my career so far have been when someone's proved me wrong and I've been like, oh shit, thanks bro. I didn't know that. I'm going to research that and look it up because some people can get trapped in their ego and need to stay on some hill and die there.
Right.
But like, that's retarded. You don't need to do that. It's a progress for intelligence, for like learning. That's what the Academy of Ideas was built on. Right.
Right.
And so having this culture of censorship and of herd mentality, especially in the universities, is the most toxic thing to our national future you could ever incorporate.
Yeah. It's a perfect thing that
you see, other people are happy to be wrong because it gives them a moment to learn and to adjust. But instead, when Billy's found to be wrong, his ego takes control and he's like, I'm gonna die on this hill, right? He can't seem to be losing faith, especially when you're like a cult leader like him, right? I consider him a cult leader because he has a cult following that just follows him every word, and he's telling them this is what life is, what you need to do, etc., etc. It's a minor degree. It's not like Jim Jones, right? Jim Jones is the top boss, right? But Billy Carson is one of those lesser cult leaders, internet cult leader, and he keeps doubling down, and he's not addressing any of the arguments Wes Huff brought to him about the apparent contradictions and how the Bible in its original form before Constantine changed it all, that it's actually in there. And he says the Sinai Bible, and Wes Huff says, wait, this book behind me takes it? Wait, it says right here in Matthew 25 that he was crucified.
My confusion is that it doesn't read any differently.
Where was that piece
I found
discovered?
the text where I was referencing, actually, I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas. Never got crucified. As a matter of fact, the Sinai Bible, Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. But then you go to the Sinai Bible. In the Sinai Bible. And the Sinai Bible. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
He says, oh, I was mistaken. It was the Babylonian telling. Everywhere he goes on every podcast, he keeps saying the same thing. Unless he was mistaken all those times when he's like, it's the Sinai Bible. Sinai Bible says Jesus was never crucified. Sinai Bible says this. And then when Wes Huff actually says, wait, the Sinai Bible says what? No, I was mistaken. Well, then you weren't just mistaken now because you've made that claim on how many podcasts? On Joe Rogan's podcast, on the Flagrant podcast, on PBD's podcast, on all these different podcasts and platforms, in your own platform. You've been making all of these assertions and thinking it's true and hoping and wishing that you're never going to get in front of a real Christian that knows their history, that knows their stuff, and then they could expose you with just simple questions. He didn't even destroy him the way Sam Shamoon would destroy you, right? Sam Shamoon would eat you alive. But Wes Huff was so gentle and kind, either be hot water or cold water. Don't be lukewarm, right? Wes Huff is very cool. He was like, hey, just explain to me this, right? Well, what did you mean by this? And Billy just melts. And then he blames his friend. It was his friend's fault. How could his friend do this to him? How could his friend set up this debate that Billy knew was going to happen and post it because Billy then failed, and then his friend for the first time saw it? Dang, Billy actually doesn't know what he's talking about. When there's somebody that's educated and that knows the grift and that knows the things you're talking about, that's the cult leader's biggest fear. That they'll be found out by somebody that knows more than them or knows as much as them, that they can expose them to the people that have less information, less knowledge about that particular subject. He sees his friend or his ex-friend eating food at a restaurant in their community, and he's just like, how could he eat after he destroyed my life, after what he did to me? How could you eat? How could you do this to somebody and eat and not have anything on your conscience? And it's like, Billy, you need to stop thinking about yourself so much. The world doesn't revolve around you, right? This guy that was supposedly your friend for all these years, you have one clash because what? You've been talking to him about what Christianity actually is and this and that. And his friend's a Christian, but he's like, yeah, Billy, he's really smart. He's really knowledgeable. Just like, I don't know that much. Could you talk to somebody that does know a little bit and you can have a debate with them and I can be there and it'll just be like a chill conversation? Yeah. Well, then they do that. Then Billy gets found out to be a fraud. And then his friend's in this predicament, like, dang, well, he's my friend, but then he's been lying to me, and everybody knows we filmed this, and Billy doesn't want it out because it's gonna taint his image and his flawless record, right? It's like a boxer that has 50 wins, 0 losses, but he never really faced anybody that could beat him. And as soon as he meets Mike Tyson, Wes Huff, and he just gives him a couple boom, 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 and now he's like, the whole world needs to see this. Come on. Because you've been claiming all of these things, right? I'm going to be honest and truthful. He's like, no, it was bad quality. No, I'm going to have a debate with another Christian. You can't put it out. No, cease and desist. No, I'm going to call the police. And it's just like that. He was exposed. And then Billy Carson made claims that Christians were going into his son's page, into his page and his wife's page, and making threats on their lives and saying these things and nasty things and all these things, and no Christian should be doing that. You can't be holding the banner of Christ and going out and trying to attack people online, verbally, or online doing like some keyboard jihadi type stuff and trying to threaten people because of their beliefs. As Christians, we should be praying for him and loving on him in truth, that he turns from his ways and turns to Christ. So this is just a disclaimer that any Christians, please, even though we have very strong emotions towards Christ and wanting to bring every argument, every falsehood under Christ's feet, we have to make sure not to go overboard and then eat the person we should actually be trying to evangelize to, Billy and his community. So remember that and try your best to be gentle. You need to try to care less, Billy, about what other people think about you and what you think about yourself, because all of this is causing your ego and low self-esteem and very high self-esteem, and you're just spiraling. And if I would give you one piece of advice, it would be, if you don't put so much pressure on yourself that you always have to be right, that you're always on the top of the mountain and you have to hold everything up, because mentally this is what it looks like, right? With the psychologist talking to you, it seems like I messed up, my whole family this, if a Christian makes a YouTube video and makes mistakes and somebody corrects him in the comments, it shouldn't destroy his whole world, right? Because he would just say, yeah, I'm a human being, I'm a sinner, I'm fallen, I make mistakes, I'm going to learn from my mistakes and then do better. But when you're Billy and you're the god of yourself and you're the leader of this whole cult, you can't look to be having mistakes, right? The same way we wouldn't want Christ to just be messing up all the time, or God the Father or the Holy Spirit to just be messing up. That's what it looks like. It looks like Billy Carson is dying to his image, right? It looks like what Christians would be having the same reaction if God was a liar, if somehow God could die. That's how Christians would be reacting, spiraling, melting. But Billy Carson is the one that's actually dying to his image. Well, I hope he dies to his image, but it seems like he's still trying to hold on to it because he's so caught up in himself and what he has to do and what he has to be right about, instead of just saying, let the truth be the truth. And then they talk about near-death experiences, and it's kind of strange because he talks about closing his eyes and being in this paradise, and then, you know, these beings saying, hey, you could be here and it's going to be peaceful and lovely forever. Or you can go back to the bad earth and open your eyes and you can be there, but you can't come back. And Billy says, I was so strong. I could have chose to be in paradise in heaven forever, but instead I chose to come back for you. It seems like he's still talking to those last few cult members that are still believing him and still saying, nah, Billy wasn't wrong. He was robbed of that victory because he had a sickness is why he's been making up these lies for so many years. This is why. No. So it just seems like him trying to self-soothe himself and just tell himself, like, no, you're not going to have any torment after this life. You're going to go to heaven. You're a good man. You're a good guy. You're the best. It just seems like you're trying to stroke your own ego to make yourself feel better. And it's sad. And I hope he does find help. And then his therapist says
about near-death experiences, but 23% of them are bad.
Oh, no.
And it tends to go with people that are not doing the right things with their life.
Oh, wow.
So at least for you, you can go, have confidence. And the people who portrayed you, maybe there's a little retribution. So maybe you can take some peace in some of the retribution.
Actually, you know, what that shows is that you're actually better. You're actually better because a lot of people have near-death experiences and then they imagine like fire and brimstone, and you imagine something else. So that actually shows that like you're actually better. And it's feeding into that same ego, like you're going to a therapist and the therapist is really not helping you, right? It's like a scam, because what is Billy getting better after this, or is he just affirming all of Billy's feelings and emotions? And like, actually, you're right, you're the victim, all these people are evil and they did you wrong. There is no accountability on your side for all the lies you've been telling for years on the internet. But in Billy's worldview, you don't have the tools to deal with these problems. But in Christianity, we do have the tools. It's called humility, right? It's called forgiveness, right? You can be humble and then say, yes, I am wrong, and then be okay, and that be actually freeing, that you can be wrong, that you don't have to hold yourself to such high of a standard, right? We let God have that standard, because God is perfect. But us as human beings, making our faults, making our mistakes, Paul says it himself perfectly. I don't let any other human court judge me, right? I don't even judge myself. I leave the judgment up to God, because we're all humans, we're all fallible, and we all make mistakes, and we all need to try to get better. These are the tools that are in Christianity that help Billy deal with his present problem, but I don't see that happening. But God willing, and let's keep praying for Billy. So truth should be what we're all really aiming for. And if any of us fall short of truth, we all want to get back up and go towards truth, not stop there and sit down and say, actually, where I fell is where truth lands. Truth is a North Star that we're all going towards, and we need to get there. And we need to try our best to put down our biases and take off those shells and those scales from our eyes, that we actually want to see the truth, because a lot of people want to believe in a lie. Special thanks to What Do You Mean from What Do You Mean YouTube channel. Thank you for a lot of this stock film and a lot of this information. So go check out his video. Hopefully I'll remember to put it in the comments. God bless.
Be like them apples. That I see was a witness to the things that I know now. I'm 5 years out of school, super in debt. Got a house, not really a house, a basement for $2,000. Got a wife and got a baby. Can barely afford the groceries that's in my pantry. But somehow we got 40 billion to send to Ukraine and to Israel to fund the genocides in the world. Everything is outdoors, ain't that so wild? We got homeless veterans on the street, addicted to fentanyl, meth, everything that you see. I'm trying to tell you, this shit will make your eyes bleed when you start seeing the reality.
When this is for me, this is for all the children will have, so they can remember that their parents were in love and they gave a good example to follow Jesus Christ. That's the only example I'm trying to tell you.